Of course someone's dead.
My God. Was he here this whole time?
You gotta say though, it's a lovely room. The corpse is in the way a bit, but apart from that, it looks really cool. First of all, you gotta check if there's someone else in here other than John. Okay, it's a mirror. That was a bit eerie for a second. This is behind here. Okay, there's no one else in here, so we can start investigating. Oops, not what I wanted. Right, there's a bunch of stuff back here.
The herbs here are Salvia divinorum. They have a slight hallucinogenic effect to emphasize the ceremony. This elaborate box must be for the ritual dagger.
That ritual dagger?
This oil has a slight aroma of flowers and olive. The ointment smells mouse-like. I presume it is an aphrodisiac prepared from a Spanish fly.
Okay.
This one looks like a twisted symbol of Venus, drawn in a hurry.
The two covers a mark.
This crude tattoo partially covers a slave branding. A blunt force trauma may have suffered an internal hemorrhage. This golden handle has a bloodstain on it.
Interesting.
The dagger is heavy and sharp, but lacks balance. This worm-like sigil has been drawn with his own blood. The wound is deep. A precise strike reached the heart.
And down here.
The victim has clenched the fabric so firmly in his fist that it's nigh impossible to remove it. He died right here.
Oh, Werner. You've come. Let me ignore you for a while. While I look around the other rooms.
An open wound spoiled the carpet. Why don't people tidy up after themselves? Enough cigars to burn down the entire mansion.
What else? There's one more thing. The wine. Sangiovese.
Blood. A sturdy bottle met a not-so-sturdy human. It didn't break only because it was unopened.
Smoking lounge. Nothing else here. Okay.
Identical to the robes the guests are wearing. This is a different ritual.
Ritual scenario. I found a scenario of some sort of ritual with a remark written at the beginning. It says, read and rehearse this rite. Manchios. The naked woman lies on the altar on a bed of flowers symbolizing Mother Gaia. The one who leads the ritual oils the body of the woman to awaken her inner fertility. Participants should chant at this moment and call for the man who can please Mother Gaia. Then the man who will impersonate the principle of life may come to engage in sexual congress with her. Okay. Manchio's note. Don't ignore the guests, Batista, and stop boring them. They don't want to hear about your stupidities. They want to feel how beautiful they are and how generous you can be towards them. You're here to please and celebrate life. Remember, each guest paid a great deal to be with you. Manchios.
How can anyone accept such behaviour?
A useful tool for a disguise arsenal.
For my Fabio.
Handcrafted and luxurious cufflinks. There's also a note. For my Fabio. Manchios.
Manchios, okay. Really not the key? Okay.
Would you recognise me in one of these? I suppose not.
Oh, it is the key. Don't know why I couldn't
The
get it
key
before.
is similar to the one that Vogel gave me. The capital F on the key fob might refer to Fabio.
It might.
Props, decorations, and tools for a more detailed set. Similar to the guests' robes, apart from the bloodstains.
No. What are we looking at here?
Werner, care to explain what is going on here?
On nights like these, it's not unusual for some attendees to get a little exuberant. It's part of the appeal. Unfortunately, it appears things have gotten out of hand. Yes, some are more prone to bend the rules of morality.
That's murder. I doubt there's anything left to bend. Why did you not tell me immediately? We were chatting about trivial matters for some time.
If I'm completely honest, Sherlock, I've consumed a rather potent cocktail of substances. My attention slips and drifts. But I'm glad I thought to call for you.
You sent me a disguise.
Oh dear, did I? Well, since I found the body, Mr. Manchios has agreed that you can investigate the matter. I promise my mind will behave itself going forward.
All right. And pull yourself together, Werner. What is it about these nights that you were so eager to share with me?
Well, they're not always in the evenings, but they are in the shadows. People gather to test their boundaries in a safe and consensual atmosphere. Often
Very
with more
safe.
stains than your typical crime scene. But that is the point. Who are we to judge?
I suppose that's fair. What about today, then? Was anything different?
Well, I was invited as a special guest. It was supposed to be a time of both divine and carnal pleasures. A scratch for every unconventional itch.
I imagine you're reeling from your shattered expectations.
On the contrary, there is still spectacle, stimulation, and release, merely in a different form. I like to let life entertain me.
Or death. Mr. Manchios is the owner of the manor, yes?
And the host of Cordona's most memorable parties. He promises even the ugliest guest a partner for the night. And for the ones with more unconventional tastes, Mr. Manchios provides other services.
What a caring person.
You cannot begin to imagine.
How did you discover the body? In between guzzles of alcohol?
I was set to perform in a fecundity rite with Fabio and came to inquire further. It was a staged ritual where he was to play the principle of life.
And the rehearsal was unsuccessful?
Huh, who knows? I found him alone on the altar, his blood dripping to the floor.
And then?
Then I called Mr. Manchios. He was panicking, so I told him about you. We left the room and locked the door. Then we were
Filling time?
waiting for you was stressful. We indulged in some simple comforts. Overindulged, perhaps.
Certainly.
Were you well acquainted with Fabio, the victim?
Everyone knew Fabio, or wanted to. His beauty was the talk of the island. Too handsome to go unnoticed. He was magnetic. Fat wallets fought for the privilege of having him. He offered the pleasures of performance, and more.
More?
The police remain unaware of this tragic event?
Some of them may be hiding behind their masks. They conceal many things. But we didn't want the authorities to create more problems. Besides, after a few cocktails, their incompetence will have soared to new heights.
How do you know I even want the case?
I promised you relaxation. If there's one thing I know about you, Sherlock, it's that nothing soothes you more than a good mystery.
He wants the case.
When you discovered the body, was the door open?
No, it was locked. Oh, that reminds me. It's a minor detail, but the first time I came to speak to Fabio, I left without entering, having been unable to open the door.
You didn't have the key?
No, I had it. Don't look at me like that. I was mostly sober. I suspect there was a key in the other side of the door, blocking the lock.
That detail may very well be major, Werner. Well done. So you returned later only to find the lock was not blocked?
Correct. After an hour had passed, I tried again and was able to unlock the door. That's when I discovered poor, handsome Fabio.
So he's essentially... He doesn't necessarily know that the first time Fabio was still alive.
What about the fertility ritual? There was something about Fabio being a principle of life.
Fabio was supposed to portray the beauty of life's origin. Flowers, oil... Not this travesty that seems straight out of the Inquisition.
So this ritual is not the fertility rite. What was it meant to look like?
It begins with a woman lying naked in a flower bed on the altar. She represents Gaia, the earth. As I cover her in oils, we chant for the principle. As our calls reach a climax, Fabio enters and copulates with her. After he finishes, I stab her with a dagger. That part's just pretend, of course.
But the intercourse is not?
I did not expect you to be such a prude. Are you a virgin? It is nothing to be ashamed of, but it would explain the color of your cheeks. The fertility rite marks the start of our festivities. The principle of life is beautiful, intimate, essential. It must not be stopped.
Yet it appears that someone did stop it. What about the naked woman? Can you tell me anything about her?
Oh yes, Batista. She's one of Fabio's compatriots and a performer too. I haven't seen her today, actually.
Okay. A lot of things here. Smoking lounge. Okay, there's something to look at there. Bloody handprint.
A person leaned against the doorframe. They left a smudged trail of blood. A bloody handprint on an armchair. The wounded person was here for some time. There appear to be no further traces leading to the altar.
Okay. You have anything further
You've
to
got
say?
a lot to do, Sherlock.
Well, I suppose so, but where do we start? We just ask a random person?
I need a rest from my insatiable wife.
I suppose you do. Oh, right, the Mind Palace would probably be an idea. Fabio was killed in a ritual murder, sacrificed on the altar during an occult ritual. Okay. Slightly odd that we have no...
Curtains do not guarantee privacy.
Well,
And you
not...
still need a crack, despite being ethereal.
Where have we not been? This is where... Yeah, we uncovered one of the secrets of Cordona's elite for John. This is where we met Vogel. Nothing of too much interest there. There was nothing too interesting here either. Well, we haven't looked at that.
These medieval botany and chemistry books look even more satanic than the occult ones.
There was nothing more in here. Did I miss anything in this room?
These crime scenes always outdo my imagination.
I didn't... Oh, I did.
The sign reminds me of the astrological symbol for Mars.
Alright. The murderer drew symbols of Mars and Venus on the walls with the victim's blood. I suppose they did. Did I miss anything? There's nothing in here. Oh yes, that apparently.
The pitcher is empty, but with puddles around it. Blood clots are adhered to the sides of the drain.
So, Sherry, do you have any ideas about the case?
Perhaps. I think I can deduce what happened here.
Well, yeah. Let me pause here, John. Okay. Got quite a few, it seems. What's the alternative? Well, the thing is, yes, he was stabbed for sure. Oh, right, now I remember where the whack upon the head comes into play. Was over here. Yep. Are there other options? No. Not logical ones. Yeah, that makes more sense. Yep. And what are we missing? That, I suppose.
The bottle was used as a weapon during a scuffle in the smoking lounge. Then, to ensure no one would interrupt, the murderer locked the door. The unconscious body of the victim was moved to the altar room. Once the body was on the altar, the murderer thrust the dagger into the victim's heart. Symbols were drawn with the blood. The wardrobe was used to hide the bloodied robe from anyone's eyes. The killer washed himself and took a clean robe from the hanger before leaving.
Are you all right? You're on the floor, not moving.
I think I know what happened here.
That we do. However, do we know who did it? My money would be on the woman. Okay. The ritual was staged. It was a cover for the true murder motive. Okay, let's go with that. And the murderer had a key to the altar room. It is clear the murderer had a key. If I find out who had a key to the altar room, I'll shrink the circle of suspects.
I'm
Werner.
starting to put the pieces together.
Fabio was stabbed.
I see nothing gets past you, Werner. Yes, he was stabbed, but only after being knocked out in the next room and placed here. I do not yet know why.
So, who's responsible?
Well, it was one person working alone, and the murderer has now donned a robe. He or she could be hiding in plain sight. We have lost time, Werner, but your discretion may prove to be a benediction after all.
Alright.
The murderer had to have access to this room. After the crime, he used his own key to lock the door. So, who had the key to the altar room?
I'm not sure. As a special guest, I was provided one by Mr. Manchios. He should be able to tell you of any others.
Where can I find him?
Most likely in the main hall, entertaining his guests. He has a mask with golden stars. You can't miss him. But please be discreet. We don't want to risk disturbing the revelry. I know you can untangle this mess.
Yes, of course. It's you, isn't it? It doesn't have golden stars, actually. Neither does he. Oh, it's you.
Kurt Manchios, I presume. I'm Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, you must be the one Werner told me about. What a sweet voice you have. It must belong to a handsome young man. Can I call you Sherlock?
As you wish, Mr. Manchios. Mr. Vogel asked me to help you. The body in the altar room requires answers, and quickly. I suspect the murderer to still be here.
What? Lower your voice. I don't want anyone to hear us.
Did you know Fabio well?
People are starting to look at us, Sherlock. Change the subject. I can't believe what happened to him. To me. Such an atrocity. Think what it means for me. A wonderful evening for so many good, influential, and rich people has been ruined. I have betrayed all my promises of exotic delights.
Yeah,
I
such
don't
a shame.
understand. Surely a murder would affect your reputation to a greater extent.
Please, isn't this why you are here? I thought you were a silent magician. Do your tricks and make it go away.
I need to find all those who had the key to the altar room. As far as I know, Mr. Vogel, Fabio, and you had access to it. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes. Also, Batista and Santos.
Santos? Who is that?
Santos Pinchetti, my major domo. In his opinion, at least.
I'd like to speak to Mr. Pinchetti and Batista. Do you have somewhere I might have a private conversation with them?
Of course, of course. Let me think. Batista is entertaining the guests somewhere, and Santos... Oh, yes. He will be busy with the servants. Or the cook. What's that noise? What's going on? Freeze, filth. You're under arrest.
That's a bit dangerous. What a surreal scene.
You committed a crime, and now I have to free you, kiss your hand, and apologize for the inconvenience. You're great.
I did tell you that Mr. Vogel and I were innocent. I emphasized it in my statement.
Your statement? Thanks to some bigwigs who work for the so-called good of the country by releasing fleas like you. Thank God we have Vogel in his letter. Once I get to that goldfish, I'll...
Bigwig. Oh, my wretched brother Mycroft and his long nose.
Wait, did you say Mycroft? Mycroft Holmes? Are you the youngest son of Violet Holmes, rest her soul?
You knew my mother?
Not personally, no. Not exactly. I was working on the paperwork for that case.
Would you happen to remember anything of the events?
Well, I didn't make the inquiry, but I remember seeing some notes. Why?
Perhaps we can negotiate.
Perhaps we can negotiate. I could be quite useful.
Huh. Got you hooked, right? You know what? Stark and the others think they're the smartest here, thanks to you. Let me get this straight. Are you listening to me, lad?
I'm all ears.
Take this case. Report to me only, to Constable Harvey Oswald. I'll leave everything I have on this table. Find the murderer. Be a real copper. Question the suspects, make them sing, give me something substantial.
And if Mr. Vogel is not a suspect?
If he's innocent, then you can take your favourite degenerate away from here. If you slip or mess with the evidence, then trust me, your brother won't save you from my bludgeon. Meanwhile, I'll be checking the archive for you. If anybody asks, then you're a consulting detective.
Let's make a start then, partner.
Let's do
I'm
that.
glad we managed to get the scoop before the raid.
Right, what have we here? Report number 62-60. Following a report from a witness of the satanic ritual who claimed to have found a body, the raid on the Manchios mansion was granted. It resulted in the arrest of multiple suspects and dispersal of the group in masks and robes caught in acts of gross indecency and unnatural behavior. The body of the victim was found lying on an altar with a knife wound in his chest. The officers identified the victim, Fabio, 20, a local performer and artist. Arrested suspects: Werner Vogel. V. Vogel had a letter of an insulting nature in his possession, which had been written by the victim. He claims to have found the body. He is infamous for his eccentric personality. S. Holmes carried a murder weapon, a dagger with the victim's blood, and other items of evidence. He was invited by another suspect, V. Vogel, presumably to obstruct the official investigation. K. Manchios. K. Manchios, the owner of the mansion and organizer of the Satanic Party, paid the victim to participate in a ritual, had access to the crime scene. Batista, Fabio's partner and participant in the ritual, tried to escape, resisted arrest, owned a book with a description of the ritual performed in the altar room. Some of the guests are temporarily detained for further questioning. What about Santos? The provider of this ticket has permission to inspect all evidence on case number 62-60. Mine now?
Back on track to solve the case.
Witness deposition. I, Santos Pinchetti, am a witness who reports a suspicion of murder at Manchios' mansion in Gran Saray. Of course, he was the one who reported it. During preparations for the social party, I heard loud noises from the closed altar room. Immediately, I thought of the sacrifice of a living being overviewed by none other than Kurt Manchios. There was blood on the walls, strange symbols, and a dagger in the heart. As soon as I was able to think clearly, I rushed to the police station to report my findings. The station responded to the deposition by sending a patrol, while the witness left the station and went home. Of course he did. Right.
Look, I found Werner.
Did you now? Let me first go into my mind palace. There's a lot to talk about here. Right. There we go. Pinchetti is a suspect who should be arrested and questioned. He had a key which he did not mention in his deposition. Okay. I should tell Constable Oswald in the archives to question him as a suspect. Will do. Verner.
Werner, are you all right?
Oh, yes. Everything's fine. In fact, it's something of a family reunion. My brother spent quite some time in this place himself.
You should not be here. I told the police everything I knew, but they refused to let you go. They require proof to free you.
Ha! What did you expect? The mighty Sherlock Holmes swans in, tells the officers what to think, and the world obeys?
Of course not. Anyway, I struck a deal with the constable, and I've got a free hand in the investigation. I find proof to solve the case for him. He obtains files about my mother's death for me.
Well done. If one has the power or will and can act, then one must. I wonder, suppose you couldn't get the proof to your truth. Would you tell a lie to the guard that enabled my freedom, knowing my innocence? Would that not be just?
No, not necessarily. I will obtain the truth.
There are lines I will not cross, Werner. I will do my best to secure your release, but with proof, not deception.
Really? How many white lies have you told on this island? Why not for me? Why not another?
That is absurd. I can resolve this without compromises. Do not give up hope.
Alright. Werner.
I can't follow you here.
That's
I'm
not
not supposed to
issue.
know anything about this.
I have learned who told the police about the crime. It was Santos Pinchetti,
Do I know him?
the major domo of the manor. He cleans up after you.
Well, then he does his job perfectly. all but invisible. I couldn't tell you the first thing about him.
Alright, is there anyone else? You, Batista. Maybe I should wear more appropriate clothes. Alright. I'm now a police officer.
I'm Sherlock Holmes. I'm helping Constable Oswald. You are Batista, Fabio's friend.
This body, yes, it's Batista. But it's a mere shell that will die someday. Just like Fabio.
Please accept my condolences for your friend.
Thank you.
I'm just here to ask questions and find Fabio's murderer.
It will not bring Fabio back.
I don't intend to bring him back. I just want to find out who killed him. Burn mark inflicted with a branding iron. Bitten nails, nervous. Old and healing cuts, self-inflicted. Shackle scars, old and barely visible. Blood-filled bruises obtained recently. And a primitive occult tattoo inks herself. Batista, the performer and Fabio's partner, has had a difficult life. She was branded and enslaved while still a child. While enslaved, she met Fabio, hence their similar branding. Old scars are the result of her slavery during adolescence. She continues to be haunted by these traumatic experiences. Now I have the choice between she has a genuine interest in mysticism, since she has tattooed her body with occult symbols. Batista tries to get over her past, and the life of a performer seems to be an opportunity for her to earn money. Or, Batista seems to be pragmatic about her body after years of abuse. She sells herself to the guests who do whatever they want to her. She's not afraid to step over the line. Also, Batista marks her body with ink. The old and healing cuts. That to me is something that goes closer with this one. Let's go with that.
Fabio and yourself were slaves, am I correct? You have a similar branding on your body.
Yes. It was a long time ago.
Couldn't help but also notice fresh cuts upon your forearms.
The cuts helped me to forget my past. To cover the old wounds and hide them.
How did you escape?
Something happened. One night the master fell down the stairs. I made him fall, and he died. We ran away that day. We managed to get on a ship and traveled here, to Cordona. Fabio and I started a new life here. It was very hard at first, but it became better with time. Until today.
The bruises on your neck are not self-inflicted. Someone else made them.
Some guests can't contain themselves. They even bite, sometimes.
Okay. Don't suppose I can talk
I know
to
I
her
can
further.
handle the news.
Okay. Kurt,
Good
I
day,
suppose.
Mr. Manchios. I am Constable Oswald's partner in this investigation.
Be quick and gentle. Some of your colleagues are untrained boors. Although I don't mind meeting young officers. The new blood here.
If you cooperate in finding Fabio's murderer, there will be no need to meet with the Boers again.
That voice. Werner's friend? You're the policeman. What a disappointment.
Only an undercover agent can scour a ditch full of deviants. I am a consulting detective, although I'm capable of replacing the entire department through my consultations.
Sharp-tongued, I like it. May I presume this tongue will get us out of this trouble? I would be so indebted and glad to repay you.
Nothing's changed. I'm looking for the murderer. That's the only way to get us out of trouble.
But it shouldn't take much time, correct? We're all busy, after all.
I need to examine you first.
Rouge wears makeup. I'm not surprised. Red spots rash from exposure to hair dye. Okay. Washed hands in a hurry, soap under fingernails. And quality polished leather, lavishly expensive. Kurt Manchios is extremely rich, eccentric, and frivolous. He's the organizer of the parties for Cordona's elite and the owner of the Manchios mansion. He spends his life in the company of similarly overprivileged people. And now the choice between, however Mr. Manchios wishes to hide his true age from the younger participants of his parties, he is concerned with aging to the point where he uses makeup and hair dye to look younger. Or, however, his being sociable in this manner has made him cautious regarding his health. He uses chemicals and hair dye to clean and improve himself to the extent that it damages his skin. I think we go with hides his age.
You are a little over the top with your use of makeup, Mr. Manchios. Is it so difficult for you to acknowledge your age?
Well, Sherlock, that's easy for you to say to an old man when you look as though you are barely 15.
But still, it shouldn't be an issue for someone of your status.
For people of my age, it isn't an issue, no. But the younger ones can be so afraid of wrinkles and grey flecks. I have to adapt.
Such a methodical man who cares for his body but misses the soap under his fingernails. Are you so impatient, or perhaps even impulsive?
I wouldn't call myself that. Silly little details. If I missed it, it wasn't important. Or rather, it was less important than who or what I was focused on.
What was Fabio like?
What was Fabio like? His personality, his habits? Anything you can tell me?
He was the brightest star of my parties. Young, magnetic, and full of energy. I don't even want to mention his beauty. Otherwise, I'll be sobbing.
An expensive champion, I imagine.
His performances were flawless. He deserved his payment. Do you think he was murdered because of money?
Possibly. What about the other guests? Were they used to opening their wallets as well?
I wouldn't restrict my guests from anything. I'm sure Fabio received a few coins from others for his services.
Mr. Vogel told me a little about your parties, but I would like to know more directly from you.
I'm all yours, Sherlock. You have me arrested and locked here with you alone.
Whom did you invite, or whom do you invite?
I'd like to know who you usually invite to your parties.
Free minds who are able to leave reality for an evening, who can taste forbidden fruit without prejudice. There is nothing that quite spices up life like these parties, assuming one is old enough and has worked many years for the good of one's country.
Oh, all true labourers, I see.
Why did you invite Vogel?
Why did you invite Mr. Vogel as your special guest?
He's a pretty fellow. He's capable of surprising the public. He has a talent for saying words that no one else would wish to either say or hear.
I suppose I can't argue with that.
He is a free addition to the eccentricity of the party, which is fine by me, as long as it enhances my party. I've no idea about that. You'd better ask someone else. I've no idea about that. I've no idea about that.
Do you have any idea who tipped off the police to raid your mansion, Mr. Manchios?
Of course. It was you. I could even say you Sherlocked me in here.
A good guess, but the wrong one. The fellow who did that was Mr. Pinchetti, your major domo.
What? Santos? But how could he even know? If he's not the murderer himself. The ungrateful swine. He has dared to besmirch my reputation.
Not a very eloquent choice of words.
What should I call him then, since he's a snitch? Make him talk, Sherlock. I'm quite certain he knows more about the murder than he has told the police.
I'm quite certain about that as well.
I've no idea about that. That's not something I know much about. You'd better ask someone else. You'd better ask someone else. You'd better ask someone else. That's not something I know much about. You'd better ask someone else. I've no idea about that. You'd better ask someone else. You'd better ask someone else. You'd better ask someone else.
You bought an expensive pair of cufflinks for Fabio. Were they his price? Or were they a tip for an exclusive show?
It was pure business. Fabio escorted me a few times. I was merely showing my gratitude.
This pair cost a small fortune. You must be extremely grateful then. Tell me more.
You've thrust a knife in an exposed nerve, Sherlock. Yes, he was my protege and my beacon also. With my experience and his beauty, we could have achieved anything. I had faith in him. I would have made him.
All right. Anyone in here? That's where we've come from. That's probably where Santos will be once we've brought him in here.
Oh, what a long day.
Wait, I can go downstairs. All right, I'll take a gander. Anyone interesting down here that I can talk to? You can go wherever I want down here, basically. Not that it seems there's anything to find.
May I ask for your assistance?
I don't necessarily want to
Unfortunately, my
ask.
casebook is empty on this.
Don't need any help with anything. I'm just looking around. Okay. Nothing down here. Right. We wanted to... Where's the archives? There's the archive. Oswald.
You'd better ask me a question I know
yeah.
how to answer.
There.
Have you considered Mr. Santos Pinchetti as a suspect?
The snitch? Have you seen him? I mean, my breath could knock him down. What's so special about him?
As a major domo, he has keys that open all the rooms, including the one to the crime scene. He could have testified only to circumvent suspicion, don't you think? We need to question him.
Right. I'll send our men to fetch him. Stay here. They brought him in, Mr. Holmes.
That's quick.
Here's the key to interrogation room number 7. Mr. Pinchetti didn't even resist, our men said.
Thank you.